Hello, welcome to your Introduction on Equations, which is the very first part of Chapter 2. By the end of the video in the time of class, you will be able to check solutions and solve equations using mental math. Woohoo! Well, first we have to ask ourselves, what is an equation? I'm sure you've probably heard of it before, but it is different than an expression, which is what we've been dealing with. An equation is a math sentence that has an equal sign. Okay, and that equal sign means that the two sides are balanced, which is really important. Okay, two sides are balanced. In other words, they are equal. If you think of a balance beam, okay, so here's my balance beam. That equal sign goes at the fulcrum, and then whatever's on the left side and the right side, they have to be equal so that balance is straight. So that's what an equal sign does. Let me give you some examples. Okay, so here my first one would be 4 plus 5 equals what? Plus 7. Now they have to be balanced. So 4 plus 5, I know that is 9. So what plus 7 equals 9? Well, our answer is 2. So that would be the balance. Another example for you, 10 plus 1 equals what minus 4? Well, 10 plus 1 is 11. So what minus 4 is 11? 15. So whatever's going to keep it balanced, that is an equation. It doesn't mean the answer is, it means they're equal to. Both sides are balanced. Both are equal, have equal value. Okay, so now that we know what equations are, we have to be able to classify them. There are three different types. The first type is true. And what a true equation means is that the equation is balanced. And if the equation is balanced, you will have a true equation. An example of this would be 24 plus 18 equals 20 plus 22. Because if we solve for each side, we get an answer of 42 equaling 42. So it's both balanced. And so that is a true equation. A false equation is the exact opposite. A false equation means that the equation is not balanced. And I feel like for the most part that's fairly common sense. So here's a quick example for you. 7 times 8 equals 54. Well, clearly 7 times 8 is 56, which is not equal to 54. They're not balanced with 54, so that would be a false statement. And lastly, we have an open sentence, which is probably newer to you than anything else. And so an open sentence, the biggest thing is it has a variable. That is the distinguishing feature. Okay, if it has a variable, it is automatically an open sentence. And because of this variable, it may be true or false, depending on the value of the variable. So an example of this for you would be 2x minus 14 equals 54. The giveaway there is that variable. We it has it, so it's automatically open. Depending upon what x is going to either make the sentence true or false. So that would be your definition of an open sentence. Okay, so now that you are experts on all of the stuff about equations, now we get to actually learn how to check them and solve them using mental math. So before we start, though, we need to define what a solution of an equation is. It's kind of important information. What a solution means is that you replace the variable with a value, or in other words, a number, and it makes I'm going to say makes a true statement. So going back to what we just talked about, it's going to be true, which is the most important part of having a solution. You could replace it with anything, but it has to make this statement true. It has to make that balanced equation. And so you really want to make sure that you're checking to make sure that you are actually making a true statement. And that's how you know you have found a solution. So let me give you some examples. Here we go. My first example for you would be 8 equals 5x minus 7. Now, obviously, this is an open sentence, so we're going to figure out if some numbers work for it. So you're basically just guessing and checking or using mental math, and sometimes you'll be asked to actually see what options are there. In this case, I'm going to say, is 3 a solution and is 4 a solution to this problem? So what you're going to do is replace the variable with the number. So just like you evaluate, so 8 equals 5 times 3 minus 7. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. And that does equal 8. Okay, so we know that 3 is in fact a solution. Now we need to check on 4. So again, we're going to replace 4 for the variable. And then we get 20 minus 7 equals 8. And clearly 8 does not equal 14. So the answer then to our question would be yes, it does. 3 is a solution, and no, 4 is not a solution. One question I have for you in that section for students' thoughts, questions, that very last box above your summary, is will all equations just have one solution? In this example, 3 worked and 4 didn't. Would it work for, are there any other numbers that it would work? Do all equations just have one solution? So bring your answer to that, and we will be talking about that in class. The next thing we're going to do, still on this page though, is to talk about solving these problems using mental math. So sometimes you'll be given a problem and it'll ask for the solution instead of giving you possible solutions. An example would be 15 divided by x equals 3. Now, using mental math, you can solve by asking yourself, 15 divided by what is 3? And we all know that 15 divided by 5 is 3. So x equals 5. Okay, so it's your turn to practice using mental math to solve and find the solutions to these equations. So go ahead and do those 2 problems. It's all mental math, so you really should just have an answer for those. And then check in with me in just a couple seconds as soon as you're done for the answers. Alright, using mental math, if we replace x with the number 6, you will get a balanced equation. which makes a true statement. So x equals 6. In the second one, if you replace x with the number 10, you will get the other side, that side to equal negative 19. So x is 10 in the second example. Okay, so here's an example of how real world using mental math to solve equations and problems. The new U2 stage is a rectangle with an area of 80 square feet. So here's my rectangle, and inside here is 80 feet, and a length of 10 feet. So from here to here is 10. And it wants to know what the width is there. So that's our unknown, that's W. And using mental math and what we know about area and all of that good stuff, we know that if we take 10 times our width, we will get an answer of 80. So 10 times what is 80? And obviously, mental math, that answer is 8 feet. So our width is 8 feet. Okay, writing equations. This one is a fairly simple problem, but they do get more challenging. So it's more the process of what's important. So here we have an art student who wants to make a model. The length of the court is 2.4 times its width, and the length of the student's model is 54. So what should the width of the actual model be? So here we got to define what we know. And we have done that a little bit. So we know the length because it tells us the length is 54 inches. And then we know that it's 2.4 times the width because it tells us there. Okay, and now we need to associate words that we are aware of. Is means equals, almost always. Times means multiplication. Okay, now we just got to fill in the rest. Length, we know what number that is. That is our known number of 54 inches. Okay, so we're going to put that on one side. So 54 is, and we're just going left to right, 2.4 times the width. And the width is what we're trying to find. That's our unknown. So that's going to be just W. Okay, another way you could write this is 54 equals 2.4 W. That way you just look smarter. It's still the same thing. And then to solve the actual problem, we need to ask ourselves what number multiplied by 2.4 is 54. It's a little bit more difficult math, but it's still doable. And if you just guess and check, you'd be able to figure it out. And it is going to give you, estimatingly, this is about 2.5, so between 2 and 3. So 2 times what number would be 54 roughly. It's about in between 20 and 25, would give you that ballpark of 54. So that narrows it, and then just using math, if it's not super mental for you, you can figure out that your W, your width, is 22.5 inches. So then your answer then would be C. Alright, that's all I got for you. Look forward to working with you in class. Thanks for watching.